Welcome to Donington Park and welcome to a whole new season of the Radical Challenge. The cars are set to do their first of 3 races of the weekend, a slightly revised format this year indeed, because the endurance races, and there are 2 of those this weekend, go up from 40 to 50 minutes. The front of the grid, Jerome de Sadelier and the reigning champion Dominic Jackson. There are a number of new faces, however, on the grid for this opening race, and amongst them, having been an occasional racer in other assorted categories, motor racing broadcaster John Hindhoff.
I'm a tin top man normally, GT4s, that sort of thing. In fact, I was last out with an Aston Martin on Hankook tyres at the Circuit of the Americas a couple of seasons ago, and I thought it was too good an opportunity to pass up. All my racing driver friends rave about SR3s, and now I know why. When you look at a car like the SR3, you can't help but think, first of all, it looks like a proper racing car. Well, I can tell you now it drives like a proper racing car as well. I've had to completely recalibrate my racing brain, which is not a very big brain, and there's not very much left of it to go racing, to be honest. But I've had to completely recalibrate how I think about Donington Park. The last time I raced here was in a 6-hour race in a Porsche 924. Now, believe it or not, the track hasn't changed since then. You wouldn't believe that, having seen my onboard and how I had to drive. It's like a different circuit. Everything's happening so much quicker. But for someone who doesn't drive enough or often enough, what I've taken out of this is how accessible the performance of the SR3 is. It gives you all of the right feedback. As a gentleman driver, certainly not expecting a phone call anytime soon to be a pro. As a gentleman driver, what you want is a car that you can feel comfortable and confident in. And the SR3 has that in spades. In fact, the harder you drive it and the faster you drive it, the more rewarding it is. And my heart rate's been right up through the roof, all the way through this. I'm normally quite calm behind the wheel. I do endurance racing normally. This has been full on, everything happening. Where have I got to be next? What gear am I in? Where should I turn in? You know, Danny Sullivan once said, adrenaline is the drug you can't buy. Well, I can tell you can, and it's Radical SR3. That's adrenaline. Pure adrenaline, proper race car. Analogue, no aids, it's brilliant.
The first race of the weekend then is set to get underway here. It's based on a driver's best qualifying time out of the session this morning, and it's Jerome de Sadelier, the German-based Swiss driver, who lines up on pole position with the reigning champion Dominic Jackson for company, ahead of Mark Richards and then John McLeod. Lower down the order, there are 1 or 2 regulars in Radicals. It's such a family atmosphere that once you're hooked, it's very hard to go off and do anything else. John Hindhoff will line up 18th, and Grant Dalton, OBE, the CEO of the Emirates Team New Zealand, he is going to be at the rear of the grid. He's no stranger to car racing himself. Let's see how those 2 newcomers to Radicals get on. As the rolling start lap is done, the pace car peels in. We are set to go racing. The first of 2 50-minute races of the weekend is go, and it's Jerome de Sadelier then that gets the best start on the inside then from pole position down towards Redgate for the first time. Dominic Jackson to the outside line, bit of a lock-up from lower down the order. There, Rod Goodman goes round the outside and spins. There's a tangle, and Goodman is in the gravel at the very first corner of the season. And he's not the only one involved in all of that, because also off the road has gone John McLeod. The entrepreneur gets going again, but I'm afraid to say that Rod Goodman does not. He is stuck in the gravel bed and going no further as the leaders then come down towards the old hairpin. I'm just fearful that we might end up with a safety car to get him out of harm's way. To the chicane, round the outside line goes Dominic Jackson. There's a bit of a rub, but he goes through. He's over the curb, he's over the gravel as well, but he takes back the race lead. Dominic Jackson then leads, and there's somebody off in a big way coming down towards the chicane. That is Ollie Marapiotto Jr. The wine merchant, I'm afraid, is very definitely uncorked, and he is up against the wall. Safety car peels back in, way out wide. Look, goes to Sadelier. He's all over the curb, he's all over the grass, and that gives away 1-2 places at least. So Dominic Jackson it is who leads on the restart, going down towards Redgate, and now is saying to build up the advantage as John Hindhoff has a go on the inside line there to try to get past Grant Dalton. The Kiwi, though, fends him off. Dominic Jackson looking good up front. The man chasing him at the moment is Mark Richards. Over the timing line they come, but now the real attack is going to have to come from the delayed Jerome de Sadelier. He's down in what, 5th place as they come through Redgate corner. Ahead of him, the next target, Jack Constable, new to Radicals this year, having raced in the Ginetta Super Cup. And that's John Hindhoff losing a place, diving down, losing 2 places no less, diving down towards Redgate. Race leader over the timing line, Dominic Jackson getting away. Mark Richards behind him, the private equity man from London. And then battle is on for 3rd place. Now, de Sadelier, who comes from a good racing family, brother Hugo, father Stanislas de Sadelier, races both. And this is John Hindhoff's view as he tries to get his place back from Grant Dalton up the inside into the chicane, scrabbles by on the inside line. Dalton will try to fight back. Grant, who has done some racing going all the way back to 2007 in saloons back in New Zealand. There, diving to the inside line to try to make the move. Look, is Jack Constable, but he gets an absolute face full of Brian Cordwell, who then runs wide over the curb. But he just hangs on to the place. Nose to tail then, they run for 4th and 5th places down through the Craner curbs. Constable lines up at Redgate, makes the move on the inside, and this time he's got the job done, but will he go out wide? There's the danger of it, he's up the curb. Cordwell tries to fight back on the inside at Hollywood, switches sides, but no, Jack Constable has fended him off as the pit window now opens. Pit window between 20 and 30 minutes, and as it opens, the safety car being deployed once more. Race leader is in. Now, why do we have a safety car looking around to try and piece it all together? This is going to really throw strategy up into the air. Some are staying out, others are pitting and getting it out of the way. Might be Barry Liversidge that we've lost. Certainly John Cordwell is no longer circulating. More and more pit stops cycle through. That's Peter Tyler coming in. Peter kart racer in the early 1980s, so long ago, he reckons he can't even remember when he started racing. More of them pour to the pit lane. Brian Cordwell is in now. Dominic Jackson's on his way out of the pit lane, back into the race. The question is whether or not he's managed to hang on to the race lead. Remember, all of these cars are the same. All the Radical SR3, 226 brake horsepower, 3.1 seconds for a 0 to 60 time. Top speed, 147 miles an hour. 1500cc, 4-cylinder Suzuki engines. And they're all being revved out of the pit lane now as the pit window comes to an end. Some are in, some are out. 35 Grant Dalton comes in. Also in there you see Jerome de Sadelier. Tyre pressure's checked. There's very little you can do really during these pit stops. And when you get to the second endurance race of the weekend, there will be pit stop success times added on. Now that wave of cars has to stop at the end of the pit lane while the safety car comes through. Now the drivers are released. And in all of this, the safety car crew is looking for a race leader. So those cars now allowed to pour back out onto the circuit. Now Dominic Jackson was the race leader when the pit window opened and the safety car came out. So is he going to slot in as the leader behind the safety car? I think that's what the safety car crew has in mind as the last of the pit stops now cycle through. Jerome de Sadelier down the pit road then. That wave of cars is released. So they now can play catch up. Jerome de Sadelier then, after not a great start, putting a lot of energy into this to try to get himself back into the mix. Rest of the field coming through at a decent pace as well now. As you see, they're all trying to latch onto the back of the leading car behind the safety car, all of which, of course, is eating into the 50 minutes. And there is the safety car. They've got a lot of work to do to try to catch up now. So the safety car comes down towards Redgate corner. It has got Dominic Jackson behind. Then, look, you will see the lapped John Hindhoff, and in second place now it is Mark Richards. Now, how many more laps are we going to get into the 50 minutes before the very end? This is John Hindhoff's view, and he's staring at the back of the race leader. Safety car in, Dominic Jackson storms away. Mark Richards keen to get past the back markers. He's up towards the timing line, then he can overtake when he gets to the green flag. Behind him, there is Jerome de Sadelier. They both swoop round the outside of Hindhoff going into Redgate. And de Sadelier there does get through. Now he concentrates the attack on Mark Richards for second place as they plunge downhill once more. It's looking good, though, this, for Dominic Jackson. He's built the gap. Now, remember, de Sadelier, as he goes wide there, coming out of the chicane, did that earlier on one of the safety car restarts and lost ground as a result. Into Redgate they go. Jerome de Sadelier from pole position should, in theory, have the pace now. What can he do about Mark Richards for that second place? Jackson, though, is looking good up front. He comes down towards the chicane as the change happens for second place. Through on the inside line goes Jerome de Sadelier. His brother, third in LMP2 at Le Mans last year. Are we going to see more of Jerome on an international LMP stage in the not-too-distant future? Don't bet against it. He's up to second spot, but gives himself a lot of work to do now against the race leader as he swoops through Redgate once more. Dominic Jackson for the final time comes down towards the chicane. He has dominated this twice interrupted race, but the checkered flag is at the ready, and Dominic Jackson is going to win the opening round of the Radical Challenge. He comes up to take the checkered flag to win at Donington. Dominic Jackson then victorious and by some margin. We await anybody else to be second. Dominic Jackson wins race 1 by over 8 seconds from Jerome de Sadelier. It's Mark Richards third ahead of Jack Constable in 4th, Brian Murphy 5th, and Spencer Bourne coming through in 6th place. A very happy trio of drivers on the podium, and 2 more races still to come this weekend. And the second of them is going to be the sprint race. That's coming up next. This weekend at Donington is the opening round of the Radical Challenge, and we are set for race 2. And this is the slightly different one in as much as it is a 20-minute sprint race. The grid for this is based on a driver's second best time. Jerome de Sadelier lines up on pole position. Dominic Jackson is with him at the front of the grid. Mark Richards and John McLeod will be on row 2 ahead of Jason Rishover and Jack Constable, who proved to be a very competitive rookie to Radical racing, at least in the opening race of the weekend. 19 cars are set to do battle. It's going to be a standing start for the sprint race. We are go, and Dominic Jackson bogs down from the outside of the front row. John McLeod in the blue and white car makes a good start. So too does Jerome de Sadelier on the run now, down towards Redgate Corner for the first time. Through the right-hander they go. Contact and a spin. Round, I'm afraid, has gone. Rod Goodman, yet again. He was off the road in the first race. Peter Brooks there through the gravel as well. Rod Goodman is going no further. Safety car comes out, and Rod Goodman, 2 races today, he's not got past Redgate in either of them. Safety car peels back in, and we are ready then to go racing. It is Jerome de Sadelier who leads the pack, Dominic Jackson behind him, and then Mark Richards in 3rd place as the cars accelerate their way now up towards the line. Green flags fly, we're back racing, the top 2 instantly breaks away, and as they come down towards Redgate, de Sadelier is a man on a mission now. He is trying to get away from Jackson, knowing that the reigning champion, the ex-Formula BMW racer, is going to be going after him, as there, diving up on the inside line to gain a place, goes Spencer Bourne, and that's good going because he was 10th on the grid. Spencer Bourne then making progress as the race unwinds, down towards the old hairpin come the race leaders. Now Dominic Jackson's got some work to do now to get himself onto the back of the race leader. John Hindhoff turns through, keeping Peter Brooks at bay. Peter back out of the gravel. Grant Dalton from the rear of the grid goes through as well. But up front, it remains de Sadelier. He's the man in charge as they come into the chicane, but is Jackson closing up just a fraction? I think the answer is yes, he is. To the timing line they come. So the race leader, Jerome de Sadelier, has the advantage, but only just as they come by. There in 2nd place, look, you can see the black car of Dominic Jackson closing up a little under braking for Redgate this time. And Mark Richards is kind of the best of the rest, really, in 3rd place, dropping away a little bit, but not yet being caught by John McLeod. Number 80, Peter Tyler through. He, in turn, is trying to fend off Elliot Goodman. Elliot Goodman, graduate of karting, the man from Northamptonshire, accelerates now down through the awesome Craner curves. So a 20-minute race, hopefully without interruption, because we had the safety car twice in the first endurance race of the weekend. You saw number 10, the black car of John Cordwell, just going through a moment ago. And the leaders are down towards the chicane once more, with Dominic Jackson chipping away now to try to get onto terms with the leader. But identical cars, don't forget. So it's all about how well you as a driver and your team can work together to get the best out of this combination. Brian Murphy goes through. Regular Radical racer, come out of Ginetta's and the Croft-based Northern Sports Saloon Car Championship, Donington and District Motor Club Series. Field pouring through Redgate, including there Peter Tyler. At the back of that group is John Cordwell, trying now to wriggle his way through, but it's not that easy so to do. Evenly matched these 3 as they plunge down the hill once more. So Peter Tyler, the man from West Sussex, just at the head of this little battle pack, former kart racer. And there, chasing after him, is Elliot Goodman. Now the race leaders work their way yet again down towards the chicane, and if anything the gap might just have gone up a tad this time, so getting away ever so slightly is de Sadalier. Comes out of the chicane, still chased by Jackson. Mark Richards is there in third spot. Lower down the order, Jack Constable, number 11, goes through. That's Brian Murphy, the livery of which is a kind of ape of the old BASF BMW M1 Pro car many, many moons ago. Works well on the Radical, that colour scheme, and he heads over the timing line. Now Brian Murphy down the order, the Allwyn Racing car, and Tyler Weir. Battle on behind yet again, as to the outside line goes John Cordwell, trying to swoop past, and he does go round the outside of Elliot Goodman. That was brave stuff, and he kicks it on the black bit, doesn't run wide up the curb either, so that's a really good pass. Job done. John Cordwell from 16th on the grid, working his way through the traffic now. Elliot Goodman, having lost the place, has lost a bit of ground as well. De Sadalier, however, comes down towards the chicane, flick right, flick left, over that little brow, and then over the timing line, down towards Redgate. There's nothing at the moment, seemingly, that Jackson can do. 8 laps in the book as they go now through Redgate. Jackson, the man from Lincoln, the reigning champion, the property developer who a long, long time ago was on the grid in Formula BMW. John Hindhoff there, his first race weekend in Radicals, not an inexperienced, if only occasional racer, heads up towards the line now, but he's rather in no man's land. There's no one to battle against. He's fallen away from the pack, but he's not being caught by the 1 or 2 behind him. Out of Redgate, onto the top of the Craner curves, and inevitably, with every mile, more confidence comes. There goes Brian Murphy then through the chicane, and he's at the rear of this little gaggle, being led by John McLeod. So the former Caterham racer comes down now towards Redgate. He's got just enough in hand over Jack Constable, moving from the Ginetta Super Cup at touring car meetings from last year, and then Spencer Bourne next up, having started 10th on the grid. Race leaders plunge downhill once again now. All the while, the leaders are escaping. There is Spencer Bourne, the real estate man, comes from St Helier in Jersey. And the race leader remains Jerome de Sadalier, and no matter what Jackson is trying, there is nothing seemingly he can do at the moment. Over the line once more. The best battle really is going on for that rather distant 4th place. Mark Richards there looking the other black car. He's the man in no man's land in 3rd. Not catching, not being caught. There, Bourne has a look up the inside. Jack Constable fends him off those. They come over the line. 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. With Brian Murphy just staying on the back of them. Murphy started 7th on the grid, so struggling to make progress, but he is staying with this gaggle. Out of Redgate, there goes Jack Constable now, onto the top of the Craners once more. Now, can Jack Constable do anything about finding a way down the inside or the outside and displacing this 4th place car? The recovery manager in the Hart GT car, not only is it Jack's first year in the championship, it's also the team's. Hart GT coming into Radicals this year against many of the established teams that know exactly how to make a Radical work. Lead gap down a fraction this time as they come over the timing line. Clock ticking on down. What have we got left? Maybe 4 more laps into Redgate, and it remains Jerome de Sadalier in charge. But Dominic Jackson now, late race, having a real push. Onto the top of the Craners as a change happens for 4th place. Through on the inside goes Jack Constable. Finally, he's done it. Dives through on the inside, and now that he's got past John McLeod, is that going to open the floodgates? Because look, Spencer Bourne from 10th on the grid is the next man in the queue looking to try to get past as well. Down they come now through the old hairpin once more. Now Constable up into 4th place. Can he get away? Has he run out of time to get onto terms with Mark Richards for 3rd place? Right and left through the chicane come the race leaders. Dominic Jackson still doing his best to hustle on in pursuit of the race leader, but Jerome de Sadalier looking as though he's got this all under control nicely. Thank you very much. Jack Constable in 4th place goes through. That's Brian Murphy, determined to try to get back ahead of Spencer Bourne if he can, but he's still about, what, 3 lengths back as they come now over the line. Down once more in towards Redgate corner. So John McLeod losing touch a little bit, and now Bourne comes up to challenge. He's inching up onto the tail of him. Richards, third out of the chicane. Try as he might, he's just tantalisingly too far back from the race one winner, Dominic Jackson, as they come across the line. It's going to be 1-1 then, seemingly, between de Sadeleer and Jackson at the end of this sprint race. Here, meantime, is the fight that's now on for fifth, where John McLeod is under attack not only from Spencer Bourne, but also Brian Murphy. And the pair of them are being caught as they come over the line. You've got at the back of that group, Brian Caldwell. Down they come towards the braking zone. To the outside line, Spencer Bourne on the outside at Redgate, tries to make a move. Goes for the inside out of the corner and he goes by, and there's a problem. McLeod slows. He's been passed on the inside by Murphy, on the outside there by Caldwell, and so it looks as though John McLeod has got a problem. Slowly down through the craners. Something, I'm afraid, has gone horribly wrong for John McLeod. We're also getting news that Mark Richards, as the checkered flag is being prepared, is going to get a 5-second penalty for track limit abuse. Race leader through the chicane. It's going to be a win for Jerome de Sadeleer in fine style as he comes now up towards the checkered flag. Jerome de Sadeleer wins race 2 in the Radical Challenge at Donington Park. Second, Dominic Jackson. Now Mark Richards will take third on the road. And does the 5-second penalty drop him anywhere? I think he's going to be okay, actually, because he was so far ahead of the opposition. Confirmation then that Jerome de Sadeleer wins from Dominic Jackson. Mark Richards third, ahead of Jack Constable. Spencer Bourne 10th to 5th, a great effort. Brian Murphy 6th from Brian Caldwell, Peter Tyler, John Caldwell and Elliot Goodman in 10th. So Jerome de Sadeleer heads to the podium, and this time he will go to the top step. A delighted race winner here in the second race at Donington Park.
Yeah, I really warmed up my rear tires properly this time and got good traction off the line, did a good start. A bit challenging as the start line is downhill, so you kind of got to get on the brake a little bit not to jump the start. But once I was in the lead, kept there. I know when you're behind, hard to overtake in the dirty air, but yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, I got an awful start, dropped back to 4th, maybe even 5th. And tried to make up for it in turn 1, managed to squeeze my way on the brakes around the outside and get back up to 2nd. And then, you know, just Jerome and I were so consistent, it was very difficult following him in that dirty air. But I think I managed to get fastest lap towards the end, which I'm happy with given the circumstances.
Was hoping after the start I got a much better start than Dom, so I was in 2nd, and then I got clipped by John McLeod, and then Dom came around the outside in an exciting move, and you know, the rest of the race was stayed in those positions. I think I sort of dropped a couple of seconds back and then held that gap for most of the race, and then got caught by a back market, but can't complain. I think the pace was a bit closer than it was this morning, so hopefully in the same direction tomorrow. It might be, with the success seconds, it might be my day. We'll see.
And we'll find out, because the third and final race is the endurance race. That's next. Here at Donington, we're getting ready for the final race of the weekend in the Radical Challenge, and this is the endurance race, over 50 minutes with mandatory pit stops. And this time you have to factor in success penalties within the pit stops as well. Jerome de Sadeleer will start on pole position. He and Dominic Jackson have had a win apiece this weekend, and it's 15 seconds worth of pit stop penalty for Jerome de Sadeleer, 20 for Dominic Jackson, because he was the winner of the earlier endurance race. Jerome de Sadeleer second, and so he gets the slightly shorter pit stop. Mark Richards in the black car, number 52 on the second row, 10 seconds. And they're leaning on each other down to the end of the rolling start lap. This is going to go well, isn't it, if they're doing this already? Jerome de Sadeleer on pole, Dominic Jackson alongside him. It's a rather fractious rolling start lap. Let's see what 50 minutes of racing has in store. The safety car, the pace car as it is, peels into the pit lane. We will go racing now as Jack Constable on the outside line dives out of the draft. The pit window between 20 and 30 minutes, and the cars dive down towards Redgate. There's somebody off on the grass already. That looked like it might have been the guest car of John Hindhoff that's got it all wrong. But as the leaders go out of Redgate, down through the Craner curves for the first time, battle is joined between Jerome de Sadeleer, who leads, and Dominic Jackson in second place. plunging downhill then for the first time. De Sadelier from pole leads the way, but he's got to pull out effectively an extra gap over the opposition because of that pit stop penalty that he's going to serve. So he needs to be at least 5 seconds clear of Richards, maybe 10 plus over Jack Constable. Dominic Jackson, though, with 20 seconds, really does have a task on his hands. As through on the inside of Spencer Bourne there goes number 66 of Brian Cordwell. Race leaders out of copies for the first time, and then speed building down towards the chicane. We've had some great racing from these cars all weekend. 1500cc 4-cylinder Suzuki engines powering the Radical SR3. 226 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, and 147 miles an hour as a top speed. And the leaders come over the timing line, and there in the gravel already, I'm afraid to say, coming out of the chicane, is Mark Richards. From the second row of the grid, he was running third, and Mark Richards is off the road. And looking at that, this may end up being a safety car period, because he's beached in the gravel, and if anybody else goes wide, they are likely to strike the parked car. Big shame that, because Mark Richards was on the podium in the earlier sprint race, having bagged third. The safety car is indeed coming out. He was on the podium as well in the first endurance race. John Hindhoff with damage, so maybe he didn't fall, he was pushed at the start. But either way, he is back in the race. This might piece it all together in replay. Down towards Redgate then. Gets to the braking area. Oop, and got a discernible tap in the tail there. Off he goes, all over the grass, finds the right direction and a strip of tarmac for traction. Safety car will be in this time. The race to get back underway. And Jerome de Sadelier blasts out of the chicane then. He's being chased by Simon Jackson and then Jack Constable in third place. That safety car has helped him because it means he hasn't dropped back quite so far, and with a shorter pit stop he could well be in the mix in the second stint in the race. Single drivers, even though we've got the pit stops. And there, Spencer Bourne goes through on the inside of Peter Tyler to gain a place, but he goes a little bit wide, and Tyler fights back on the inside now, going up towards Hollywood, but he can't find a way through. So, Spencer Bourne hangs on to the place. He's had a pretty good weekend, actually, with some good results, and he's made progress in the races as well. So up front, the race leader, Jerome de Sadelier, trying to break away, but Dominic Jackson keeping him honest here. Dominic Jackson, who's raced all sorts of things over the years, having started off in Formula BMW. We've seen him not only in Radicals, he was the champion last year, but historic Formula 4. Jerome de Sadelier, whose father Stanislas de Sadelier used to be a Group C2 racer. Marker cone goes flying there. That was assaulted by John McLeod, number 14, who had mechanical woes in the second race and dropped back late on. But de Sadelier, whose brother Hugo is part of, or has been part of, the United Autosports LMP2 squad, experienced sports car driver, and Jerome de Sadelier using this to gain experience, perhaps before he goes on to a European sports car stage. Performance per pound, there's not much to rival the Radical Challenge, but we've got more drama at the chicane, and that, by the look of it, is Barry Liversidge, who is in the gravel. The next fight coming downhill, look, you can see there, number 14 of John McLeod coming under attack. We're also now getting plenty of drivers being warned about track limits. So as Barry Liversidge is pushed out of the gravel, he's able to get back into the race. We don't, thankfully, need a safety car there. Up on the inside line there, look to gain ground as they come out of McLean's corner. Marcello Marattiotto, but then contact at the next corner. John Cordwell bounces off the side of him and gets all sideways. Marattiotto through, Cordwell fought back, and contact between the pair of them. This has the makings of being one of those races where if you survive, you're going to finish pretty well. Down on the inside line now, into the chicane goes Elliot Goodman, and that puts him ahead of Rod Goodman. Dad drops back, Rod having been in the gravel at turn one in both of the first two races. So the fact that he's got this far is a major result for him. So the family feud continues as up front, the race leader is still Jerome de Sadelier. More and more warnings are coming about track limits, so as the drivers push on in a long race, if they continue to offend, the penalties are likely to get more and more draconian. There you've got number 8 going through. Now that is Spencer Bourne. He had a very good run in the second race of the weekend, even though it was only a 20-minute long sprint. He was 10th on the grid and finished 5th. Here are the leaders. lead gap, I thought for a moment, might just have been coming down. But Jerome de Sadelier it is who leads. Second still is Dominic Jackson. And then in third place, Jack Constable dropping back a little bit now. Next battle is on there, look, you can see, because inching his way onto the tail of the traffic is Spencer Bourne. Just up ahead of him is Brian Caldwell as the cars now come once more over the timing line, and back markers are up the road. So this is the next test for de Sadelier. He's got to try and wriggle his way through the traffic. He's got to be decisive and incisive, but not lose time against the man behind him who's chasing. That's Dominic Jackson, but equally not take too many risks so he gets caught up or tripped up by the traffic. De Sadelier is the pioneer in all of this as he goes now through Chance Curve up towards McLean's. It's going to be the car, the Barry Liversidge, that they will negotiate first. Back in the race after his gravelly experience down at the chicane. The lead gap has come right down to Sadelier, briefly delayed by the back marker. And so now as they sprint down towards the chicane, gets into the draft. But Dominic Jackson is closing up all the time on the leader. To the inside line goes Jerome de Sadelier. He will go through. He does go through. Can Jackson get by as well? Yes. So the net result on that lap is that the gap has come down by 3-4 lengths between the top two. Spencer Bourne makes another attack, this time on the inside of Brian Caldwell. Goes through, gains another place. Spencer Bourne inching his way forward. Up front, though, it's the Stuttgart-based Jerome de Sadelier leading the way, and Spencer Bourne continuing to inch forward, gaining more ground now as he turns through Redgate. Challenge on behind, you can see on the inside line, John McLeod tries to get up on the inside line, but Peter Tyler fends him off there. Peter Tyler in the 360 Racing entry, keeping at bay John McLeod in the Raw Motorsports car. Down to the old hairpin they come. Slightly tighter line taken by McLeod. Is that going to help him on the run now up towards Schwantz Curve? Let's see. Nose to tail they run. McLeod fights back on the inside, but he's got to be mindful of the fact that as much as he's attacking, he's got to defend as well. Right there behind is Jason Rishover, the property developer who began his career with the 750 Motor Club. Going better in this third race is Jason Rishover as they turn now from Coppice down to the chicane. The leaders come over the timing line once more, approaching the pit window, don't forget, at the 20 to 30 minute mark. And so now through Redgate Corner, Jerome de Sadelier leads the way, but Dominic Jackson is bringing down the gap, helped a little bit by the traffic a couple of laps ago, but it's game on now between the race leaders. You got a lot of track time in this championship. This is the final race of the weekend. Challenge on the inside as John McLeod does now go ahead of Peter Tyler. Job done going into Redgate. And Jason Rishover tries to wriggle away by as well. He gets on the inside line at Hollywood, but what's the outcome going to be? Yes, he's through. Down through the Craner curves. So one place gained by John McLeod, one place gained by Jason Rishover, and Peter Tyler is the one who really loses out that time around. Jason Rishover, having proved that he can overtake, might now be on a roll. Can he get past John McLeod as well? Jason Rishover, another of the 360 Racing squad, has a look. McLeod defends, though, on the way into the double apex right of Coppice. Jerome de Sadelier and Dominic Jackson just go over the timing line, still getting well clear of the opposition into Redgate Corner now. But Jackson it is, coming back at de Sadelier, who now has to go defensive into Redgate. And really, for the first time in the race, and de Sadelier is sideways up the curve, Jackson is mounting a real bid. This is a proper lead battle. They're going to be side by side all the way down through the Craners. This is brave stuff. There's just about room for Jackson, who goes through, but there's contact. De Sadelier with two wheels on the dirt has to give way. And Dominic Jackson, very uncompromising, very brave stuff. He is the new race leader, having hit the front and having hit de Sadelier. Can he get away? Nothing malicious in that. It was just two of them going for the same bit of real estate, going down through the Craner curves. But into Coppice, Dominic Jackson, now the race leader, looking to try to build that advantage. De Sadelier tucked up behind him as they come now down towards the chicane once again, but it's been a good effort this so far by Dominic Jackson. Let's see whether or not he is going to be able to escape up the road, or whether Jerome de Sadelier can come back at him. At the moment, you'd put your money on Jackson, wouldn't you? He comes through. Another lap in the book, getting ever closer to the pit stop window. And Jerome de Sadelier now is the man with the work to do to play catch-up. Here at Donington, Dominic Jackson leads the final race of the weekend in the Radical Challenge, but he's being chased as there you have a spin coming out of the old hairpin for John Caldwell by Jerome de Sadelier. John Caldwell hooks a gear, carries on, but these are the race leaders. Dominic Jackson, it is, up front, comfortably up front earlier on in the weekend, but he's had to fight his way through to the front in this race, and de Sadelier wants the lead back. There are plenty of fights going on lower down the order. Now Barry Liversidge in the red car is about to be lapped, or is he? Because Spencer Bourne gets it all wrong, and badly wrong, because he bounces off the barriers coming out of the chicane, and that could well be the race over for him. The race leader then goes through 15 laps in the book in this 50-minute race. The projection is maybe about 40 laps or so, but there Peter Tyler goes through. The pit window has opened, but Spencer Bourne's car off the road coming out of the chicane. I'm not convinced he's going to drive away from there. Let's see what develops next. Yellow flag covers it. It's at pit in, but it's in an awkward place, and the clerk of the course may decide that this needs to be covered by a safety car. Yes, there are the boards. So safety car is going to be deployed. Safety car is scrambled. Has it picked up the race leader? There is Jerome de Sadelier going through. I don't think it has picked up the race leader, so unless Dominic Jackson pitted when I wasn't looking. So let's just see. We have got cars in the pits. So there you've got John Hindhoff, who's a lap down. He's the man that's been picked up by the safety car. So in the haste to get the race pace down, safety car is scrambled. Dominic Jackson had made his pit stop, so that means as he rejoins that the race leader is going to go to be Jerome de Sadelier once more, so it's him that needs to be behind the safety car. But that is not yet what is happening. You've got two back markers there, out of position. Everybody else that's taken an early pit stop now comes back onto the circuit, but Jerome de Sadelier potentially is going to lose out, depending on how long the safety car is on the track for. Right, he now pits. Others bail for the pit road. And the safety car turns its way through Redgate with Grant Dalton and I think Barry Liversidge being the two that have stayed out and are now in the queue behind the safety car. So there the rest of the stoppers get back on track. And so we are ready to go again with Jack Constable now ahead of Dominic Jackson. Down towards the chicane, Jack Constable, then Dominic Jackson, then it's Brian Murphy running third on the road. Jerome de Sadelier next up. The green flags will wave. We're in business once more. Jack Constable accelerates now down towards Redgate corner. Dominic Jackson tucked up behind him, and Brian Murphy trying to defend there. Look, it's not Jerome de Sadelier behind him, apologies. It's number 66, which is Brian Caldwell. So de Sadelier has got a lot of work to do now to get himself back into the mix as the leaders plunge downhill once more. The top two on the road having escaped quite markedly now. Brian Murphy, experienced driver, runs third. Remember, everybody with the same type of car in this race, so it's down to your ability as a driver, down to the team's preparation and how well you and the team work together to get the optimum out of the combination. Through Coppice, Dominic Jackson throwing everything at this. He wants a second win of the weekend. He wants another endurance victory, and he's inching up onto the back here of Jack Constable. Coming down now towards the chicane. Down through the gears, turn right, flick left. Dance over the curb, and then it's down towards Redgate. Is Jackson going to be able to make a move? He's closing up, no question about it, as they go down towards the tightening right-hander. He looks to the inside line. There's not quite a radical's width, so he goes to the outside. Wide in, tight out might be the master plan here. Tries to get up the inside. The door is closed. It was through the craners that he very bravely got the lead away from de Sadelier, but Jack Constable is arresting his progress here. Down through the craners they come, elbows out. That becomes a very wide car in the lead, and Dominic Jackson hasn't yet found an answer to it. Up towards Schwantz Curve they come once more. The two race leaders with Brian Murphy running in third spot, and Jackson being a little bit delayed now. Jack Constable not doing anything wrong. He's the race leader. He's perfectly entitled to defend, and defend he is. Which way does Jackson go now? Looks up the inside, can't do it there either. Jack Constable hangs on to the advantage. Brian Murphy, though, is getting right up with them, and potentially this leading line is set to grow. Brian Murphy even challenging on the outside line. Constable is the cork in the bottle here. Jackson thinks about the inside. Oh, so nearly committed. He's up the curb, he's over the curb, he's back on again. But Constable is still the race leader as they come over the line. And you can see the queue behind is getting longer and longer and longer. Down through Redgate. This time, the challenge is on the inside line for third place. Brian Cordwell goes through, but he goes wide. And Brian Murphy comes back at him. So up front at the moment, race leader Jack Constable not getting away. He is being given a very hard time by Dominic Jackson. And now they sprint their way once more up towards McLean's corner. And where is the next change in this leading group going to come from? The two race leaders are together as they go now through Coppice. Rather encouragingly, 31 Rod Goodman going well. There's the next change because sliding off the road is number 66 Brian Cordwell. He's through the gravel, he's all over the grass, but he's going to get back on, whereas off the road is John Cordwell. Not a good lap for the Cordwells this. John is off at the old hairpin. Is he going to be able to get back into the race? He should be able to, albeit rather badly delayed. Race leaders side by side. Jackson on the outside line. He's going to do it this time. Yes, swoops around the outside, up the curb, but he comes out ahead. An excellent move that. Dominic Jackson bravely round the outside. Jack Constable gave him just enough racing room, and so now it is Dominic Jackson who hits the front, and he's going to try to get away as he comes down the hill. Jack Constable runs second, powering up towards Schwantz curve. Can he fight back? I suspect he's going to drop away a little bit now. Back markery ahead. John Cordwell, I think, who's going to be negotiated soon by Dominic Jackson, the race leader, trying to build that gap all the while now. Through they turn, and the race leader should be able to dive up the inside, but Jack Constable is coming back at him. Constable gets the draft, gets the toe, gets the line on the outside, but it's not really the place to be, so Dominic Jackson fends him off, but only just coming into the chicane. Fair play to Jack Constable. It's his first weekend of racing radicals. He's throwing everything at this. Dominic Jackson, the reigning champion, is under huge pressure now. Through on the inside line. Puts a lap on Cordwell. Out of Redgate. Constable trying to stay with him. We've just lost Marcello Malatioso from the race, having also been given a penalty for track limit abuse. Other penalties are flying. And we're going to have to factor these in as the race nears its close and start to work out who's going to finish where. Now, what about the progress of Jérôme de Sadelier? He is trying to work his way through the order still, and his next target is John McLeod. There, Brian Murphy goes through to put a lap on John Cordwell's black car. But the race leaders then come from Coppice down to the chicane. Can Constable get the toe this time around, or was it the traffic helping him on the previous lap? C28 Elliot Goodman going through. He's having a good run in this final race of the weekend as well. There's the lead gap. You can see that at the moment it doesn't really look as though it's going to come down on this lap, at least between the two of them, but Constable might well be spurred on now because Brian Murphy, having a great run, is not that far behind him, and Elliot Goodman is about to lose out because Jérôme de Sadelier challenges as they come over the timing line. De Sadelier, number 5, should go through. The 360 racing car picks up one place. The next car ahead, the black car of John Cordwell, is a back marker anyway, so that's just going to put a lap on him. So the next real target's going to be Brian Murphy. There's de Sadelier, through on the inside, picks up the place. But de Sadelier has also had repeated track limit warnings, and his penalty is going to be 15 seconds. So Jérôme de Sadelier inevitably is going to fall back once the penalty is applied. He's pushing and he's trying to build up a cushion over everybody else, but it might all unravel post-race, I'm afraid, for him. He's still charging as best he can. In the meantime, Dominic Jackson is looking good for a race win here. The line of traffic has, you can see, 28, Elliot Goodman, the former carter for Raw Motorsports, coming down at the chicane, but he's stuck now behind John Cordwell. Out of the chicane they come. Rob Goodman's blue car surviving the rigours of this race, which is good to see. Is next up behind the number 14 John McLeod car, and down they come towards Redgate, and on the inside line Rod Goodman has a tentative look, doesn't really commit to it, mindful that Jason Rishover is behind him there, look, and he's right on his tail looking for a way by. Dominic Jackson, though, is going to win both endurance races this weekend at Donington. A great effort as he powers his way now out of the chicane, up towards the timing line, and Dominic Jackson will win. Second on the road is Jerome de Sadelier, but where will 15 seconds drop him? Let's see. Tick, tick, tick. Here comes Jack Constable. Is he going to be within 15 seconds? Yes, he is. Jack Constable breaks the beam, and he will be second. Jerome de Sadelier third on the corrected times. The rest of the field comes streaming through the chicane. Elliot Goodman is set for fourth, Brian Murphy fifth, and John McLeod, who gets a 5-second penalty for track limits, will be classified sixth, provisionally. This is how the results look at the end of race 3 at Donington. Dominic Jackson, the race winner from Jack Constable, and then Jerome de Sadelier. Elliot Goodman, a great fourth ahead of Brian Murphy. John McLeod coming home in 6th place. Dominic Jackson leaves Donington as the championship leader. Behind him, Jerome de Sadelier, and then Jack Constable in third at the end. An excellent weekend.
Yeah, firstly it was close between Jerome and I just managed to do him through crane curves, which isn't easy. And then when we came out after the safety car, I had Jack in front of me, and I knew we had some pace on Jack, so it was just trying to pick the right point. Yeah, great start to the season.
I had a little more action than I really wanted or needed, to be honest. Going down to Redgate, the first right-hander off the rolling start, right in the middle of the pack, starting 11th today, and well inside the braking zone when somebody behind me decided that it wasn't the braking zone. Not malicious, absolutely not. It's not that type of championship, but spun me onto the grass. I took out a couple of marker boards, but somehow, I think as much by good luck rather than good management, I managed to keep it out of the wall. What I'd like to take away from this weekend and the Radical SR3 Challenge here at Donington Park is, please can I come and do it again, because I've been really, really impressed with everything and how the whole weekend's gone. The works guys have run the car absolutely perfectly, and everything from top to bottom, from sign-on, the scrutineers. It's a proper family atmosphere, really, really competitive out on the track, but it's fun, it's fast, and in terms of the performance that you have for the money that's going into this, there can't be anything better in the world of motorsport.